she is dead.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh yeah, what's going on, fam? It's your man VACAY-JAY, and yes, I'm back with another video. This is for Tyler Perry's Ruthless, Season 4, Episode 10 recap, family, and we got a wonderful surprise. We got this episode early, so you already know I had to put this out for y'all. Give it to y'all straight. We're going to break everything down as far as this episode. That's right, back-to-back episodes. Let's do it. Before we get started, make sure you catch up on all my episode recaps so you get caught up on everything so you don't miss anything. So let's get into Episode 10, Season 4, Tyler Perry's Ruthless. So the name of this episode is Tonight's the Night, and it reads, law enforcement takes a renewed interest in Lilo's disappearance. The highest personally tortures Malcolm for information, and Marva orders Zane to assist in Lacey's punishment. So where do we leave off? We left off where we have Desiree and Kyle, and they're about to go to see the Raku. They got that report that the sitting senator wants them to investigate to find their son. It showed Aaron's picture. So now the sheriff is trying to stop them. Also, Mac is trying to stop them from rolling up there, trying to discourage them, saying that, yeah, they're going to go crazy. They're going to take out the children and everything else like that. Of course, your boy Kyle is not believing anything. He's really insulting, the sheriff, and the sheriff is getting mad. I think that he's just trying to distract them and be a disruptor to disrupt them from going up there. So, of course, they feel like Kyle is going crazy. Desiree tells Kyle to take a walk. She apologized to him and said, hey, listen, you know what? We'll go up in the morning, as you said. We'll listen to you, and we don't want to insult you, right? So, of course, again, I think the sheriff is playing or trying to play the FBI. Mac is like, listen, I'm going to go to the hotel. I'm going to hang out. I'll be around, right? So they discourage them to go up there. She tells an agent to follow Mac, and she has a hunch that Mac is BSing. She goes over to Kyle and says, hey, listen, we're still going up there. We're not listening to them. And Kyle is like, see, that's why I like working with you. Because, again, they both don't believe the sheriff and they don't believe Mac at what they're saying. So they're going to go up there. And your girl Desiree is like, F them. We going up there. That made me die laughing. She is no joke. So now here we are. We got the highest, and Elder Mother Marva calls out to the highest. She's like, your highest. We're going to cook the food, but we want to begin the process with Lacey. So, of course, the highest is like, sure, but you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want her to have my babies. Why don't you have the unseated, the unenlightened, go in there and impregnate Lacey, all right? So he changed his mind altogether. He doesn't even care about the seating anymore. Just have the guys who were not seated, who were not enlightened, go in there. And she's like, really? He's like, yes, I want her to be tortured. And she's like, yes, I want her to be tortured too. The evil was just in the air. You can see in their faces. They are both just terribly evil, right? They want Lacey to be tortured, and they're looking back and forth at each other. This is just evil at its finest on the Raku campus. So here we go with Ruth, and she tells Bridget to come over to her while they serve the food to the men. And she's like, how are you doing? And she's like, I'm fine. And she's like, I decided that, I'm not going to, tell the highest anything right now, but you need to get me that information anyway, right? So here we go. The guys are rolling up. We see Manny, we see George, and we see Lewis. And here we go with Lewis having a conversation with Ruth. And she's like, how you doing, brother? He's like, I'm fine. I'm a little nervous. And she's like, well, you don't need to be nervous, because I decided not to tell the highest. He's like, really? It's like, yeah, I decided not to tell him, but we need to talk anyway. And then he was like, yeah, so what about this? And she's like, you really want to talk about this right now? He's like, nah. You know what I'm saying? She's like, okay, we'll talk, brother. We'll talk, right? So, of course, they're going to talk about that plan, that scheme, that scam that he told her about. Of course, she wants to get her daughter, and it's going to use him to get the money as well. So we're going to break that down in a minute. So he smiles, walks away, and yeah, they are serving the men as they do first, and then hopefully all of them will eat so they can eat. So she's looking at Bridget, And again, she has total control over Bridget. You know who comes over. Here comes Joan. Hello, how you doing? You know how Joan does. She was like, well, what was that about? You know, she saw that she was talking to Lewis. And Ruth was like, well, you know, I caught him trying to entice one of the women. And she's like, well, you know, make sure you don't hold out on me. If you hold out on me, I'll hold out on you. She's like, yeah, I thought he was enticing one of the women, and find out he wasn't, right? And Bridget is looking like, is she going to say anything? But she didn't say anything to Joan. She just said, nah, I'm just looking at him. I'm going to watch him to make sure he doesn't try to entice one of the women. So now here we go, still talking about the money. We're still talking about the children and everything else like that. And she asked Elder Mother where the children were. And Joan says, I don't know. She didn't know where they were. So again, they don't have any information as to where the children are. Here we go with Daikon. And Daikon rolls up to Elder Mother Marva. And he's like, Daikon, the highest wants you to take the stuff out of the freezer because he forgot to tell you. He's like, yeah, okay. He's like, yeah, go ahead and cook the food. And she's like, well, he already told me that, you know, Anthony. And he's like, listen, old lady. And they're going at it. And she's like, bummerclot. I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So, I mean, you know, they really cursing on the show. But anyway, she's like, girl, and she's calling Zane over. She's like, come over here. And Zane runs over, you know. Zane is so compliant now. She loves Zane. She's like, we are going to make the food for the highest. And she is just extra excited. I don't know. This episode, Elder Mother Marva is so happy, so excited. And she's like, yes, we're going to make the food for the highest. Let us go. Come with me now. They're both smiling and happy. I don't know. I think Elder Mother Marva's been taking her own stuff. All right. So anyway, here we are back in the trailer. We got Malcolm, and he is in the electric chair, but he is knocked out because he's on that magic stuff. So the highest comes in. He pats his face, tries to wake him up. He's like, hey there, hey there. He's like, yeah, what's going on? Yeah. He's like, you know, wake up. Do you know where you are? He's like, yeah. He's like, listen, I need to know, how was the trip, right? How was the trip? You know, he was on that magic trip. And he's like, oh, it was real good. It was really nice. And the highest is like, see, you thought I was giving you too much, but it was perfect, huh? And the highest is getting all happy because, you know, that's going to be his magic that he uses for himself. But he wanted to make sure it was good, that it wasn't, you know, like laced with anything else and anything. So he's like, you need to say thank you. And he's like, thank you, your highest, you know, I appreciate it. But he's still out of it. And he's like, listen, you know, I am your God. He's like, what do you mean? He said, listen, I have the stuff that you need. You're strapped to a chair. You're on the compound right now. I'm in total control of you. So I am your God. And he's like, yes, your highest. And I'm like, wow. Malcolm is like really compliant, but he's like, do you know that you're in an electric chair? He's like, no. He said, let me show you. So he's like, no, you don't need to show me. And the highest goes over to the controls, and he turns on the controls, and he shocks the hell out of Malcolm. He's like, ah. I'm like, man, Malcolm is getting what he deserves, and he keeps shocking him and shocking him. I mean, your man is not letting up. He is shocking the out of Malcolm. It's wild, right? So, yeah, he turns it down. He's like, listen, I need to know everything you know about the FBI and what they're going to do. So here we go with Daikon. He rolls over to the cooler. Who's in the cooler? As he's opening up the cooler, you already know. Your boy Aaron is in the cooler, and he is freezing his ass off. He's like, oh my God. And Daikon is looking down at him. He's like, I'm freezing. He just kept saying, I'm freezing. And Daikon's like, get your ass up. Get up, man. Get up out of there, right? So he pulls him up out of the freezer, you know, and listen, this time it really looks like there's actual ice in the freezer, you know, not like when Malcolm was in there. But Aaron is like, I'm cold. And Daikon's like, listen, you're going to warm up. It's going to be okay. He's like, yes. He's like, okay. He said, what do you say? Say, yes, Daikon. He's like, yes, Daikon. Right? So he's like, what are you going to do to me? He's like, I don't know. Listen, just come with me and you're going to warm up. Don't worry about it. You're not frostbitten, but do you understand what's going on? Do you understand that you cannot leave? He's like, yes, I understand now, right? So he walks him out, and this guy is struggling. Aaron is struggling to even walk, right? So he's like, do you understand what's going on now, right? Do you understand that you cannot leave? He's like, yes, I understand. So he brings him to a punishment trailer. And of course, Aaron, last time he was in a punishment trailer, he saw the FBI boys locked up. So he's like, please, no, don't put me in there. And Daikon's like, listen, it's warm in there. It's going to help warm you up. I'm not going to chain you up. Just go in there, warm up, and I'm going to talk to the highest to see what he wants to do with you, right? So we see a little tiny little speck of compassion coming from Daikon, right? So Aaron is like, thank you. He's like, yeah, you're welcome. Get your ass in there, right? He's like, I'll be back in a bit. We'll find out what the highest wants to do with you, right? All right. I just wanted to show this because we got the playground and the swings are swinging back and forth with no children on it, right? What a sign. Here we go with Bridget and Ruth, and they are washing the dishes, obviously. And she's like, listen, I want to know, how do you let Lewis know when you guys want to do what you do? She's like, well, you know, I give him a message on this cup, and then I let him know to meet me, where to meet me. And she's like, what? What do you do? And she actually shows her the cup. She brings Lewis like a cup of tea, but she puts like a letter underneath on the bottom of the cup to let him know exactly where to meet her. So she's like, okay, I want you to give me that cup because I need to meet with Lewis. I want to talk to him. And she kept asking him, are you going to have sex with him? She's like, no, I'm not going to have sex with him. Just give me the cup. So here we go. We are back in the kitchen. And we see Elder Mother Marva is finally showing Zane how she makes the highest food with the extra special magic in it. She's putting a little of this, putting a little of that. She puts a little extra spice. She's like, the highest likes his food spicy. But of course, she's putting that magical powder in there to make him happy and make sure that he is good. So Zane is like, oh, yeah, okay, great. Thank you, Elder Mother Marva, And then they start talking about Lacey. And it goes to the point where Zane is like, she should be killed. And that was a mistake that Zane said because everybody believes that Lacey is dead. But your girl, Elder Mother Marva, is so into their little banter about taking Lacey and torturing her and all this and that. She tells Zane that Lacey is alive and that they're going to have a ceremony and all the men are going to seed her so she can have babies. And Zane is taking all of this stuff in and saying, okay. And she's like, you are going to help me tonight to torture Lacey. You'll be right there with the men pounding away on Lacey. She's like, let's go. Let's prepare right now. It's like, wow, this is crazy, right? So here we go with George and Lewis. And your boy Lewis is like, man. He's like, yo, what's going on, man? He's like, yo, I got caught by Ruth. He's like, what? I told you, man. I told you. George is like, I told you, man. He's like, yo, man, I didn't know. Lewis is trying to be a player, man. He's trying to be the Raku player. He ain't doing nothing but playing himself. So your boy George is like, yo, what are you doing, man? Just like, you playing around so much. And here comes Ruth with that cup of tea, right? So obviously she has a message on there because she wants to meet up with Lewis and talk about things. So she's like, hey, brother, how you doing? Here's a cup of tea for you. He's like, oh, thank you. This is for Lewis. And then she looks at George, is like, I like your brotherhood. I like what it's like, right? Because George is worried about whether or not Lewis gave up George as far as the plan of robbing the place. But yeah, Ruth is smart. She figured it out. And now Lewis is getting all hot. He's like, yo, maybe I can get some. And George is like, yo, focus, man. Yo, get in focus. What are you doing, man? Like, we are screwed. He's like, nah. She from the streets, man. She don't believe in that stuff either. Don't even worry about it. So here comes scumbag Manny, right? Sits down next to George and Lewis. And Lewis is funny, man. He's a smart ass. He's like, guess who came to sit down with us? He's like, yeah, I'm here. And he's like, yeah, man, you know what? You were right. yeah, man, he wanted to butt plug me, man. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, I told you, man. You know, so they like, yo, you down with us now? He's like, yeah, I'm down, right? Manny's like, I'm down. But George is like, nah, man, you can't just come back like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you flipped on us. You flip-flop all the time. You indecisive all the time. You got confused all the time. I don't know about this. So George walks away. And then Lewis is talking to Manny. And Manny's like, yo, what's wrong with him, right? So Lewis is drinking in the cup. And he sees the message on the bottom of the cup. So your boy Lewis is like, listen, I got to go. I got to go. Because he may think that Ruth is trying to get some, but nah, they need to talk about this plan. So he leaves, and here comes your boy River. And River's like, what's going on, man? What's going on, Manny? And he's talking to Manny. And he's like, yo, what do you want? What do you want? She's like, yo, man, you know, how's your dick? I'm like, what? River is crazy. And he's like, yo, man, just leave me alone, man. You know what I'm saying? Just leave me alone. Yo, how did Zane do that to me? How did Zane do that to me? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. So here comes Daikon. He's like, what are you doing, River? Get away from my men. So River's like, okay, I'll leave, right? So he gets up and he walks away. Your boy Daikon is looking at Manny like, yo, what's that about? What is wrong? What was he talking about? And, you know, Manny's like, yeah, he was just being annoying as usual. You know how he does it, man. You know what I'm saying? So Daikon is real protective over his men. But at the same time, you know, Manny, he got to be real careful for real. So here comes Zane and Elder Mother Mava. And she goes to the middle of the pavilion. She's like, all the men who got the blue card, put the card up. It's all right. You're going to meet me later. All right. And meet me at the place that we told you. Right. And so they walk away and Daikon's like, what the hell was that about? Right. So now, of course, they're questioning what's going on. And Zane, they ask Zane, what was that about? Yeah, they're going to take the men, the unseated men, the unenlightened men, and they're going to try to impregnate Lacey tonight. And they're like, oh, no, that's going to be crazy. And Ruth is like, listen, you got to tell her to hold out if she wants to get out of here. And here comes River. He's coming over, and he's like, man, I mean, this is the first time we see all of them together talking about the same thing, right? So, you know, Zane is like, listen, I'm going to be right there. Ruth is like, listen, man, we got to come up with a plan. Don't worry, I got something going on. And, you know, they're just going back and forth. And really, it's about Lacey holding out. Really, it's about everything that's going on. It's a lot going on, right? So they all walk away. And your boy was like, listen, you missed the spot, right? And I think this was improv because she's like, get out of here. You're so insensitive. And he's like, language, right? And Joan gets upset. So here we go. Your girl, Elder Mother Marva, is trying to take the food to the highest. Daikon stops and is like, what the hell is going on here? What is happening? What are you doing with my men? And she's like, you want to know? Ask the highest if you want to know. You know, I don't need to tell you anything. I'm taking the food to the highest. She's like, no, you're not. He's not there. Well, I go in there anyway. You know, I'm going to drop off the food while it's hot. He's like, no, you're not doing that this time. And the reason why is because the money's in there now. They got over $2 million in there. And Daikon doesn't trust anyone. He definitely doesn't trust Elder Mother Marva. So, of course, they're like, Anthony. And she's like, bummer clock, right? And here comes Rev. He's like, hey, you know, Elder Mother Marva, can I help you? She's like, get the door. And Daikon's like, don't let her in. So, you know, Peter's like, no, you can't come in, Elder Mother Marva. So, yeah, they're going back and forth as usual. And he's like, you know what? You're going to wait here with the food. And look at her face. She's looking like a little baby, like, So he's like, listen, take her back to the kitchen or you could wait right here, right? So she's like, Elder Mother Marva is such a little child. And River's trying to be helpful, but she's like, I'm just going to wait here. And he's like, make sure she doesn't get inside at all. This banter is so hilarious, yo, for real. And River's like, listen, you want to go back to the kitchen to keep the food warm? And she's like, no, me don't want to go back to the kitchen. Me gonna stay right here. I'm going to stand right here and wait for the ice. I was like, dang, Elder Mother is pissed off. So here we go. It's nighttime, and we got these guys out here with their tactical gear and the sniper gear, and they peep Andrew in the distance walking through. He most likely is trying to get back to the campus, right? So we don't know if that's FBI or if it's the Raku, right? And no one knows, not even Andrew knows, but he walks up and he's trying to walk up on them, right? They're really trying to get by, but they go after him. So he's like, hey, put your hands up, put your hands up. He's like, hey, listen, guys, listen, I knew where you were. Come on, I'm FBI, man. You guys are making a big mistake. You know, don't worry about it. Listen, I'm undercover, man. I'm undercover. Like, really. And they don't believe him at all. They're like, what are you doing here? You know, why are you creeping out here? He's like, look at me, man. Look at me. I'm trying to get back to this campus. I'm undercover. Trust me, you guys are making a huge mistake. And they're like, you know what? Put your hands up. Put your hands behind your back. And the guys, they are not believing Andrew at all. I mean, they're really messing up a lot of things. He's like, yo, come on, man. Like, yo, really, just call your superior. You know, he's like, you know what? Put your hands behind your back, man. Put your hands behind your back. They don't believe anything that Andrew says. They don't even know who Andrew is. So that's why I believe it's not FBI, right? She's like, yo, come on, man. And maybe, I don't know who it is, what type of operation. It may be the Raku, but they are about to take Andrew in. And Andrew breaks out the kung fu grip, starts fighting the dudes, doing all these different tactics, starts flipping cats over. I mean, your boy Andrew knows how to squabble for real. Andrew is throwing cats all over the place. Eventually, they lock him down, put him down on the ground, and put handcuffs on him. So they may be taking him to the FBI or the Raku. Here we go with Ruth. She's creeping in the middle of the night. Gonna go to this abandoned car in the back that has papers inside the window so nobody can see. So she goes inside the car. Who's there? Your boy Lewis is there. And she's like, listen, I know what's going on. You told me what's going on. I decided not to tell the highest. And she's like, listen, $300,000? I want $300,000. She's like, yo, come on. You know, that's everything, right? She doesn't tell him that there's over $2 million in there because she knows. So he's like, listen, what can we do? So she's like, you know what? I want $50,000 and I want you to get my daughter. What's the plan? So he's like, yeah, we're going to have guys and they're going to go in. Me and George, we're going to run in there, and then we can get the money, get in the car and go. She's like, yo, that's a stupid ass plan, dude. She's like, you know what? If we're going to do it, we're going to do it my way. Here's the plan, right? So here's what you're going to do. Everybody's going to be eating. You're going to get a couple of guys and get some ladies with some straps and go ahead and stick up me and the highest, and everybody else, they don't have the straps on them, right? Listen, I'm going to drop off the bag of $300,000, okay? You know, and make sure that one of the ladies has a strap on me. I'm going to get away first, get my daughter, and then I'm going to go out the back. You guys can take the money and get out of there. He's like, yo, that's a great plan. That's a great plan. Okay, I'm with that. Okay. But you got to get the guys and make sure you get the ladies who are down with you to make this thing happen. He's like, all right, bet. I knew you wasn't down with the Raku. So he calls George on the walkie-talkie. He says, everything's clear. He's like, all right, you can leave. She's like, all right, man, make sure this happens. Nothing's going to happen until they get the money. So here we go. This guy with the fish eyes, the binoculars, and he sees the government is coming. The evil government is coming. So he calls everybody on the walkie-talkie. Meanwhile, your boy, the highest, is juicing up Malcolm in the torture, in the electric chair. I mean, he's going in on your boy. Bzz, bzz, he's like, ah, it's crazy. He just keep going in. He's like, I need to know everything. You know what I'm saying? Because he told him, listen, I'm down with the FBI. You know, the highest was like, no shit. Like, I know that already. You know what I'm saying? So he's juicing him up to try to get all information that he can. He said, listen, if you give me to a computer, then I can get on the computer. He's like, listen, if you try any tricks, he's like, I'm not going to try any tricks. So he doesn't believe him. That's why he's juicing him up. So he's like, all right, man, you know, I'm going to find out. You know, they found out about you. They've been investigating you for 4 years, and they found out about you through the teenagers that were missing, and their parents were looking for their children. He's like, what's the names? He's like, I can get the names. You give me a computer, man. If you give me to a computer, I can find out, man. I can really find out what's going on. But of course, the highest does not believe him. You know, he doesn't believe him. That's why he's juicing Malcolm up, right? He's juicing him up. So here we go. Daikon goes through the window of the torture chamber. He says, listen, highest, come on outside. Come outside, please. Come outside. He goes outside. He's like, what do you want? What's going on? It's like, listen, your highest, I got some crazy news. The government is coming. There's 4 cars coming. And he's like, who's coming? He's like, the FBI are on the way. Man, your boy, the highest. He is so upset. This is going to ruin the plans. He's like you can see it in his face. He's frustrated. Like, oh my God. Like, this is messing up the plan. They got 2 million. They didn't even get the safe yet to put the 2 million in the safe. So he is frustrated, mad. What are they going to do? What's going to happen next? We shall see in the next episode of Tyler Perry's Ruthless Season 4, family. I believe that this is the mid-season finale, right? This feels like a mid-season finale. We're going to find out what happens next, what happens to Lacey. We're going to find out as far as the FBI. We're going to find out if Malcolm survives this electric chair and what's going to happen to Andrew as well. Family, this was an intense episode. Drop your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are, your theories are, and everything. What's going to happen next? Make sure you look out for our live discussion. Listen, this is incredible because we got 2 episodes in 1 week. So check out our live roundtable discussion. Shout out to Tika Deshawn, All Things Ruthless. Good looking on noticing the episode 10. Shout out to EJ, the TV junkie, Ruthless TV, Lakeisha Watson as well. Listen, we're going to come right back and make sure we give everything to y'all, family. So until next time, salute.